Hello, and welcome to the Mead Hall. My name is Jay, and I'm your host for today on the Mead Hall Gaming Podcast, and I am joined by John, Joe,
and Al.
And welcome back. I mean, by the time this video goes out, there might have been a little bit of a gap in some of our production, but hopefully you'll have seen something before this one. But today, we're going to be having an interesting discussion regarding our hobby in general.
Ooh.
Yeah. But before we get on to any of that, we do need to start off with our usual segment of our Tankard Talk, in which we grill a team member. And today, up on the chopping block, is the lovely Al.
Oh. Oh dear.
I was trying to have a lot of reaction to the statement of lovely.
So, if you'll join us in just a moment, we'll begin the grilling. Okay, and welcome back. So, Els.
Oh my god. This is so much pressure because I feel like for so long, like all of you have been like talking about like your hobby interests and like what you've been up to, and then there's just me, the baby. It's like not much. Well, to be fair, I've done more planning again. I changed my mind about.
I know. I'm absolved. Not by much, but I'm slightly absolved.
So, if some of you guys remember when we did the Facts and Paralysis episode, I was very, very clear about I don't like to change things so much because I hate to. And I was pretty set on my 40k army is staying exactly the same. They are not changing anytime soon. But I was very adamant on doing word bearers for legions.
With demons.
That is no longer happening.
So?
Basically what happened is that Jamie printed me a very lovely Comrade Curse, and I already had an obsession with him anyway. And now it has ignited my need to have a complete Night Lord's army. So I bought my very first box of Warhammer myself. I know, it's so exciting.
That's actually very exciting.
It's so exciting. It's the first box of Warhammer I bought off my own back without like knowing what I wanted. Because I bought it thinking that, it's going to start my Legion's army. At that time, when we were in the shop, I was still very adamant that was going to be word bearers. But then we were talking about it because we were talking about it on the train home. And I was just like, no, I know what I want to do. So I am going to. My Legion's army is going to be Night Lords, unless I change my mind again. But I doubt that.
So with the game Night Lords, but are you going to be a platform to even do the customization check or more?
So
And it is paid as well.
obviously they're 80-30.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend like too much time on detailing them because you're just not going to see it.
No.
But obviously they do have red, like on the helmets, the eyes.
Oh, I mean, taking somebody painting quite a lot of Space Marines now, you do not want to be painting the eyes.
No.
So I don't want to do stuff like that. And obviously they've got their little lightning bolt things. Is that what it is? Like a lightning stick?
Yeah, they have like lightning markings on their armor panel.
Yeah, so once they're all airbrushed to be their colour of blue, if it's not too tricky, I will do that on their shoulder pads.
Well, I've given it a go on the basis of one of my flyers, I think. It's not easy.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just trying to. I need to remind myself that there was much difference between the current era Night Lords and the Heresy era Night Lords. Not much in it in terms of don't see.
No, I mean the Heresy era ones didn't print out a lightning bolt.
I can get away with that. So.
Although, I will point out that we're not necessarily something in the heresy kindly period up.
That is very true, actually, yeah. But I have decided that I will not be having Titans because I hate them. I am going to have a night house. I think I decided on that they're like integrated with the just night mods, so they're very kind of like closed off. So I need to make learn for that. So that's going to be fun. More fighting.
Saying about lore for nightly houses and things like that. Or you can strong book recommendation to go along with that one.
Oh, that is fabulous.
Which is Assassinal and Kingmaker. Have just finished it. I highly recommend reading or audio listening. And that is exploring all about night houses. And has a lot of fun lore that you could use as a kind of building block from.
Thank you so much. That will be very, very helpful to do that. Yeah. But yeah, so a couple of steps in the direction. Obviously, my first books all by myself.
Yeah.
Didn't have it bought for me. Wasn't perturbed or anything. So
And they've stayed in our box for about 3.5 weeks.
Okay. So I opened the box and had a look at them. But yes, they are still rattling wild in there. But they will be built very soon. Very soon.
Awesome.
Not by me, by Jamie, because Tourette's too fiddly. I don't want to fly across the room or anything.
The nice thing with the Legion kits is that they are like there's not bits to assemble. Well, there's some articles on like dreadnoughts and things.
Yeah.
Which I do have a couple of them in there.
Yes. But there's some like
as they are.
But yeah, so that's the
What?
I'm so excited. I think what it was that because obviously I had this thing for Comrade for a little bit. No. And I wasn't like doing so much research into word bearers, and I was more focusing on the Night Lords and things. I just decided, I might as well just go with the thing that I've been concentrating on rather than starting something new. But word bearers might become back. I doubt it, but
just adding to the book thing, the Night Lord trilogy has just had a reprint.
yes, I am going to be investing in it.
And I have heard only good things about it. To the point where I think it swayed somebody they read that book and then made a Night Lord's army from it.
So I am going to be making my way through that. But I think I'm going to make through audiobook. Probably.
And it's everything out. It's close to Warhammer.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Just do this in an older book series, like the older book ones.
They have actually a audiobook form.
But no.
Oh.
Well, we could probably use it afterwards. So exciting.
Very nice. We'll see what's dispensed.
Is that fire talk?
No. That was the most sensitive, almost throwing of a stone, and then looking at the glass castle upon which I stand before I throw it and be like, "Damn it, I'm gonna take that one back, and I'm gonna go." Probably wise.
Because visually you're grinning will come up very soon.
Yeah.
Oh no! And there's been the tiniest part of me that's like, what if? But then no. But then what if?
No.
But no.
Kick the lane, no.
Damn it.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's time to close out Tanker Talk before we divulge into anything else. Yeah. So we will see you over in the main show in just a moment. Welcome back. So, today's subject is what the hobby is. Okay, so generally speaking, what is the Warhammer hobby, or what is gaming in general. Obviously, predominantly we are Warhammer playing, and that's what we do on here. But there are other hobbies we're involved in.
Mhm.
One that will be coming up, we have mentioned, I believe, previously, is D&D.
Yep.
So we're going to more focus on the Warhammer side of things, because that's primarily what we do. But what actually is being a hobbyist? What makes Warhammer personally who they are? What is the hobby to us? There are lots of different elements to the hobby, and there's a certain line of thinking where you have to be involved in or particularly proficient in all aspects of the hobby. That is something that we have seen or experienced when we've met certain people. I like to think that we are a little bit more on the casual side of things. So we're much less competitive, yeah, definitely much less.
Yeah.
Which does also lend itself to us being a little bit more free in what we consider to be the hobby. Yeah. So, I mean, let's break down what is the hobby. What are those sections of this hobby that we have? So, we've got the building side.
Yep.
The painting side. We've got the gaming side. Those are probably the three core elements to what we would associate with Warhammer.
I'd throw in probably like the lore aspect into it as well.
Well, I was going to. So I think those three are probably the core.
Yeah.
Building, painting, gaming. Those are probably the three core that we all recognize immediately as something to do with Warhammer. Yeah. But yes, there is the lore. So whether that's reading codexes or listening to audiobooks or even just jumping on Wikipedia. And reading some stuff on there. But then there's
that site so much.
There's also the animation side of things as well. Warhammer Plus, or Warhammer Plus. Warhammer TV is the other name.
Well,
I knew there was another name for it.
Yeah, Warhammer Plus is the subscription. Warhammer TV is the
So the Warhammer TV's got some animations. There were quite a lot of animations as well. There's less so now.
There's still some of them now.
There are still some. So there's that aspect of it. And obviously, most recently, there's been the big hit of Space Marine 2, the video gaming side of Warhammer, which has struggled in the past. There's been some good ones, and there's been some not so good ones.
There's probably, when it comes to 40k at least, there's definitely been more misses than hits.
Yeah,
in that regard. The hits hit though, let's be honest.
Well, I mean, even a quite small one like Space Marine generated a sequel quite a few years later. But
a year and a half later, Mike probably done made a pretty big splash.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in a very niche community back then. Well, yeah. Whereas now it's kind of blown head thing.
That's what I mean. It's like this sequel that made quite a big splash.
Yeah,
I think that's playing. Yeah, there's been a lot of uptick and a lot of people kind of jumping on. It's been elucidating to see people who like start to try and pick up the hobby, like who are like, oh, this game that everybody play, I'm going to pick up this game. And then, like, figuring out the hobby from there and figure out the world and the setting from there has been quite an interesting one. From like a setting that I think we all take for granted, being like, this is fine, and then they go, oh. But I think the particular one I saw was somebody who was like made like comment being like, why are the Marines the way they are? Why are they just like so focused on just like blindly following orders and like just shouting brother all the time? And I was like, oh yeah, that's just what they do. That's not weird. It's just part of the course, right?
Is that where you pick like to the hobby from, like the game?
No. Yes, from a game, not from that game.
Right.
Because my initial experience impression was Dawn of War.
Oh, okay.
That was the first, like, that was the touch moment of being like, oh, there's a fun little RTS out of here.
The original, though.
The original.
Okay.
Yes, Dawn of War.
Yeah.
And then the 2 expansions that I played, and not the one that I didn't like, which was Soul Storm.
Yeah.
I got to Dark Crusade and then got God of War 2 afterwards from that, and just missed Soul Storm existing apparently. I don't know how I missed it, but he just like passed me by.
Fair enough.
And then left it for years, and then decided to get back in.
Well, in fairness, it was a video game got me back into the hobby a few years ago, which was Total War.
Yeah, you were so obsessed with that game for a while.
No, I was to a certain degree, but I was there before even met you.
Yeah, you were.
That's what got me back in Warhammer. So I love it. I'm terrible at it. Oh, I don't know if I'm terrible or not. I can say.
Yeah.
They still beat me.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not good. Too much strategy, not enough. This way.
Well, yeah. So obviously, the games are a way of getting people into the hobby, and that might be where they stay. There'll be some people that won't necessarily be a hobbyist; they will have hobby. Which in and of itself, not a problem.
Yeah.
But once we get past that point, once we get past that initial introduction, we then get to the point where you're going to become a hobbyist. Now, are you a hobbyist if you only play the game, or you own the lore? That's an interesting question.
I think you're a different type of hobbyist.
Yeah, I think it entirely depends on I think you can be. It's like it's a hobby. It's a hobby you do. If you only enjoy sort of reading the lore side of it, if you only enjoy one part of it, you're still engaging with the hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, I think with the question of the game, I think it's more clear cut with the lore. But with the game, it's kind of more the question of, are you enjoying it because it's a Warhammer game, or are you enjoying it because gaming is your hobby? Obviously have more than one hobby, but
Absolutely.
most of us do.
I don't think that I would have been as interested as I am in Warhammer now if it wasn't for the lore. Because when Jamie and I first got together, you got me to play a couple of games, but it wasn't really my thing. So I kind of left it alone for a little bit. Then I started to read up on more lore, or he would just sometimes he does info dumps on me. He'll just brings I'll say something.
Same.
I'll say something about Warhammer, or I'll ask him the simplest question, and he will just go to information. And I love it when he does that, because he does it at the most inopportune times. It was the other week actually. We just had dinner. We sat in the living room, and the only thing I asked him was, were the Primarchs raised as children, or were they just left to fend for themselves? And then I asked about Alfarius Omegon, and he went down a whole rabbit hole, and basically in the space of 40 minutes told me everything. And I'm just sat there and I'm I'm gonna buy that, man. And it's just for me, as a hobbyist, baby, itty bitty hobbyist, it is the lore for me, because it's what engages me. And also I'm a writer, so I've made my own lore for my 40k army, and I think that it's been a lot more engaging and a lot more fun to me, because the lore is so juicy. There's so much of it, and it doesn't stop. There's so much, and it goes so in depth, and it's just it's the whole space marine process. It just how their armor is prepared, how it's put on. It's just it is fascinating. Just it's those snippets for me is what makes it.
it's just thing of like I can see the question, and in my head I was like, I can see how this turns into like an entire thing. I would just like, were they raised as kids and be like, oh, we got some things to here. Which one and how long do you want the story to be?
Yeah, there got to a point actually very early in our relationship. I remember where we would sit there for like hours, and he would just be telling me about the law, just constantly. But we would sit there together, and it would be like a date because he'd just sit there and would just regurgitate this information at me, and I would just yapping off. I'm like, yeah, I can. It's like the only reason why I know as much as the law as I do is because of him, because he's a walking Warhammer encyclopedia, and like I haven't had to do as much reading up as I have because he just tells me anyway. So it's just like,
but yeah, like the law side of it is absolutely and in terms of like, I think the question of like, does just reading or does just playing the games make you a hobbyist? Yes. Does it make you a wargamer? No.
Yeah.
Because they are separate things, but it doesn't have. But like as a universal thing, as vast as it is, you can pick up from the hobby, like make it a hobby in any regard.
I think on that is that I think some people look at Warhammer as like a single hobby, whereas it's kind of like Warhammer as a whole is multiple hobbies in like a nice little package.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably a very fair statement. Especially when we start talking about, say, our three primary aspects.
Yeah.
Building, painting, playing.
Yeah.
Now, those definitely are very clearly definable hobbies in and of themselves. Yeah. Because you can kind of take them to whatever extreme you want to, really.
Yes. And those things you can take away in each one of those as well.
Exactly. So, shall we talk about those three elements as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously we've had our resident law fanatic go through that bit.
Yeah.
But I just getting back to Elson there about, like you like really enjoy like writing the law of like your specific thing. And that then means that like you've got like kind of this character like element that you can really include. I really like the law from the perspective of, okay, what can I do that makes what I'm doing fit within the law? It's like we're both doing something to do with the law, but like my thing is, I want to make it like there is a puzzle piece, and I want to make sure that what I'm doing fits in that puzzle piece. And you're like, I'm going to make my own jigsaw, and they both yield the same result. They both end up at the same point, which is like I think the best thing is something that this seeing various bits of people trying to say, this is how you get into 40k. And some of the best advice that I heard people kind of like talk about with this is you don't try and read all of 40k. Because you can't. It's just not possible. So you find the thing that you want to find out about, and then you start there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just build it up from there. Like, and the trying to find like the kind of the starting point, or like when people are kind of doing stories in there, is just use it as a setting. Like, don't go, how does this fit into the bigger picture? It's 40k. There's so much of it that you could just go, here is my story, provided it doesn't break some of the fundamental rules, or the official GW books break some of the fundamental rules in different ways. But it's just like, is it just the way that it was written? Is it the account that happened? It could be anything. It's nice to have something that is kind of so open and so creative, where you could take it. And when I'm saying I want to make something that fits into the law, it's a pretty big. It's not so much a jigsaw puzzle like hole that you've got to try and fill. It's like it's like that. It's like the video of the person putting the different shapes, and every single one goes into the square hole. It all fits. It all work out. Yeah. So our different aspects.
Yes, definitely are. And you can apply that same logic to, with the other elements in this hobby as well.
Yeah.
So if we were to say, let's move on to the next stage, and let's assume that we're coming into this hobby brand new. Then we've discovered it through the games. We found that interesting. We've now gone away and started doing some law. with men are getting hooked in. Right? So this is their hypothetical journey to hobby. They go and pick up their first box. Yep, that's the next logical stage.
I did that.
So we go and pick up our first box of miniatures, doesn't matter what it is. What elements of the hobby is there within building an army, or even your first box? And so we're going to come up, what was the fourth box that I bought? I still remember the first thing I bought. Oh, so actually, I do want to talk first box that I bought. The first box I bought was the Targs protein box, which was Dead Guard and Orc Commandos. So relatively recent.
Yeah. Like the new edition of Protein was the first box that I went and bought, and like from a new building perspective, like there's very much kind of like I think probably people's first experience is going to be just following the instructions, or but the nice thing like with that box is something that you kind of like when you got to the end of it's going, okay, you put like, and just in terms of like the onboarding process from like GW instructions, they go, right, here's your little guide. You got a few different options you can do to build your model, get to there. And then they usually have, here's a bunch of bonus bits. Put them on your models. Yeah, I literally, like, you guess, like, I'm just, casting back to, going through and building. I was building the Deck Guard now and building the Orcs. And I got to the end of it, and it was like, okay, there's like basically like a page, and it goes, these are all the bits that you haven't used. Figure it out. Chuck them on. And that's quite good fun.
Mm-hmm. Which is certainly true with some boxes, but there have been more of a push recently of the more push fit models, apparently easy to build kits for new starters, which is a good idea for introducing people to the game. But I would possibly argue not the best start if you want to get into the building side of the hobby.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you don't get any leeway, or certainly not a lot, especially if you don't have any experience with customizing or modeling anyway.
I think if you are the kind of person that enjoys the painting and playing and less of the building side, the push fit and thing and the easy to build is like kind of better. But if you're getting into it for the building side, it kind of immediately makes there more work customizing your models than there would be if there wasn't that push fit option. It's like, I mean, I saw a kit the other day that was like a Terminator that had like a push fit thing for the head. And like that. So it's a lot to just have one way that the head can go.
Yeah, like
a lot of restriction.
To be fair, having built those that Terminator kit, the push fit element of it, that the head, I did it on a few of them. Like it is, but again, that's an understanding of like this is what you can do with kind of customizing, and that was just a case of just like you cut it on the back, and then it makes it that you can adjust it. Out of that set, however, and having like had a couple of that set and like getting some bonus and bits in there, it was the Flamer Marines of the problem, those Infernus Marines, because they are like you'll build it and it'll be like, here is the torso and like one of the shoulders, part of the arm, like one piece you stick on, and then you've got a gun which has like part of an arm and then like another part. Like it's really hard to take them apart. Whereas because you had the 9th starter kit, didn't you, as well?
I never bought any of the targets.
But you had some of the assault in that? Or could you not bought? Oh, okay. Yeah, but those were push fit, but I would say they were a better push fit system. So then people would want to try and get even more because they basically like push fit on just like full arms rather than like bits of body.
Yeah, I think I had the 8th, one of the 8 starters, and they were like that.
where it's like it's cut in a way that you could then do those modifications.
Yeah, I know. Saying for me, in fact, that's quite literally the reason I've never bought one of the starter sets because I never pushed it. Yeah, and for me, building is a massive part of the hobby for me.
That's only because I'm thoughtful.
We'll get on to that.
If all of the medals that came in the starter kits were then released as separate non-push fit sets, that'd be great.
Which, generally speaking, they have been.
With some varying exceptions.
Very exceptions.
Some very essential to your army exceptions.
I mean, Infernus Marines are that is just the starter.
Is that not?
Yeah, no, they're not. They are the same push fit models.
That's interesting. Good luck that.
Yeah, they're that new box it's literally the exact same kit that came in the starter box, just sold as a.
Also, fairly sure the can't remember what the character is for the Death Guard, but they're quite an essential HQ unit that doesn't have a model outside of the Dark Imperium box set.
Really?
It's not title.
There's the one with the like fun axe.
Lord of Contagion? Sorry, Lord of Contagion?
Yes, yeah.
But to be fair, that's the same with 9th edition. The star box for the Marines, the Justicar, only available to push fit model. The Blade Guard Ancient, only available as push fit model. The Captain in the Blade Guard Captain is push fit, and the Lieutenant is push fit. And then for 10th edition, you've got the new Lieutenant, the Combi Weapon Lieutenant, the Apothecary Biologist, or the new Librarian, or all of those. They're still only available as push fit.
I think the Death Guard one isn't actually available.
Well, you can't get then outside that starter box, like the Apothecary Biologist.
Yeah, I mean that's another issue entirely. That's what game shops supply and demand.
That's supply and demand issue. But I think the thing with like push fit from a building perspective, great as an intro. Falls apart in a second set. Because I have, again, I did a I'm not collecting Tyranid, or the stepping Tyranid, we'll go for a star box, land it with 2 halves of the star box. For the Infernus, that's fine. I can take 2 stabs. Sure, they're going to look the same. It's going to be two squads of essentially everybody in the same flamethrower position. Yeah, the Apothecary Biologist. I'm never going to want more than one of those in an army. There might be scenarios where I might want more than one, but it's such a very specific kind of model that I go, what do I do with it?
And sadly, because it's pushed it, it's going to be much harder to convert in something else.
What does that look like?
He is the Apothecary Biologist. Essentially a Gravis Apothecary, which that is a whole other conversation about my issues with the Gravis range and Slack go off. But yeah, he's the one. You might have seen it. He's the one who's got like the kind of like the case he's carrying and the pistol off to one side. Yeah, I have heard him referred to as the Harmacist, which is also my favorite.
I'm just trying to think about Steam.
There is one in the new Times animation of one of us.
Oh,
yes, that's him.
No, I know exactly what you're saying right now. Yeah, I like to like have the image in my brain because it helps just to
And the other one was the Lieutenant Combi Weapon, which I did actually convert. So that one was a push fit that I have done a conversion on.
Yeah, I know some of them can. They can.
Yeah, you can. It's just
you gave me one of the librarians you had spare, and I turned him into an Alpha Legion Terminator Saucer.
Yeah,
you can. It's just from the perspective of like a beginner hobbyist that maybe doesn't have all the tools and everything. It's like it's an extra barrier. It's like if I want my Terminator, if I don't own a hobby knife, if I don't own a proper set of clippers, and I want my Terminator to be looking the opposite way to the way that the push fit wants it to look, I will then work out a way to remove this peg of plastic.
Yeah. And actually there was I'm pretty sure it was posting some on YouTube. But I remember seeing GW themselves actually did a video talking about customizing a model, which I hadn't seen at all. But it was like, oh, like look for some fair bits. I can't feel like I remember what it was. Put something here. But it was that was quite refreshing to see. Oh, here's what you can do to do some customization. But I know that going some mild things in terms of my perspective on the building, I really enjoy the building side of it. Yeah, I really do enjoy the building side of it. As I'm putting stuff together, I will go, this looks really cool, and I'll start to stick bits on. And I go, that's more work. Every bit I put on is like, that's another bit that I have to worry about painting when it's slightly different to the others. So like, yeah, kind of having that in mind, and also the thing that you were converting me over to in terms of hobbying and building, and something which I know why GW doesn't do it. I wish they did encourage it. Or is the magnetization of it. Just from a building perspective, it's really nice to be able to just be like I just like to swap the arms around on stuff and just be like, oh, how does that kind of like look in terms of the pose?
Yeah.
Not even from like a war gear perspective, but just like I've got this guy who's got like, the scouts all magnetized, and I've got one guy who's got like a big heavy bolter and he's got, kind of like a lean back kind of position. You set that out with the guy who's running, and then suddenly it's like it's a different vibe to the same gun by just like swapping out parts on there.
I do have a question for you. Would you have magnetized everything if not for Jamie?
No. No. It was
Due to the
the relentless bullying of, why haven't you got magnets? And I was like, I'm not going to do it. It's fine. I'll just do more. If I want different models and different stuff, I'll just do more. And then I went, and it was kind of like that moment of just being like, it's the meme of the bird like refusing to eat the thing, and then be like, oh. I had that, and I was just like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like just like having just like the spot, it's the simple thing of the spot of the arms.
If I recall, wasn't it because I sat and magnetized one of your Terminates for you?
Yes, and that was like, and now everything is keyed to the same magnets, which does also lead to the joyous hilarity of I can stick like Terminator arms on scouts and just have like these scouts running around with just these giant.
It does lead to some interesting things.
Just key everything the same. It's hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, so building definitely its own little hobby in its own way. There's lots of things you can do with it. I mean, you can get into sculpting your own stuff, green stuff sculpting, which I've done a little bit of. I am by no means an expert, but I do quite enjoy it.
Enjoy sculpting organic shapes. Everything else, not
something. Yeah, it's something you could go into. You can sculpt your own stuff entirely, if you really want to. We'll briefly mention obviously 3D printing and getting involved in getting your own custom bits or buying pre-made custom bits or even making your own. That starts to lead into the idea of 3D printing its own hobby at that point again. But let's just talk about it in terms of just getting bits to add customizations. Then you obviously have basic stuff like just simple posing, stuff like that, or even specialized basing. So putting all the models on some little bases, building bases for them, or moving them on all.
Base, just in terms of like, kind of going into this for me, like, what do you enjoy about the hobby aspect? I know I should be better at it in terms of like, I've seen something. Basing is probably the part of it that I enjoy the least. Cool. I don't know what it is about it. There's just something that in my head just doesn't click. Like I'm unfussed about the basing. Like I enjoy from a building and designing perspective. I enjoy like the model. Like the model is the main thing I want to focus on. The base is very subsidiary. But I know some people who do like stunning bases. And I'm just kind of like, in the ideal world, I could just be like, I have built a model. Here's my base, and I can just stick it on a nice base. But
well, again, going back to 3D printing, that is a possibility. You can buy very nice base models and stuff like that, which you print off, which I have used in the past, and they are pretty nice. They do work. So if you want a nice looking base with minimal build effort, that is quite achievable, especially with the advent of 3D printing. Or some people cast bases and, resin and stuff like that. So you can do that.
But I think that's okay, yeah. I was more thinking about the ones that I've already got that glued on the bases, where I'm like, oh, good. Well, I'm getting them, but yeah, like ones I'm not built, I think.
It's an option.
I like doing bases. I just run out of ideas. Sort of. Like,
that can be some of the problem. I mean, I quite enjoy doing the basing as well, but I struggle with the sort of smaller bases. You know, 'cause I can't do a lot with them. That's why some of my models, it doesn't happen very often. Every now and then I'll be like, I'm just going to whack it on 2 base sizes bigger.
Yeah.
Because I want the space to do something.
Yeah. I really enjoyed my Death Guard bases that I did. Like,
Yeah, those are quite special.
so yeah. Like, they were so simple as well. I think just like off bits of terrain that you 3D printed, and I just like slam them on and make them weather them. It's like so easy to do, but it looks so effective.
The thing with the basing, and this again almost kind of links back to my thing of, from a lore perspective, I wanted them to slot in and like be nice in it. I got a really nice one for the Vindicare Assassin. So like the one that was the one with plus subscription. Oh, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's lovely. Like he's sniping. It's a really nice kind of sniping pose from inside of that. You stick that on the tabletop though.
I just bring that with.
It's like, oh no, where's the sniper? That mysterious moving statue in the distance. So just like falls along the ground to get into a better position. Like with a lot of the like the Leviathan box, I go, yes, here is my pet dead Tyrannid I'm dragging around with me that I'm going to be stood on for every single combat that I go into. Fighting chaos, gotta make sure I bring my flint Tyrannid with me.
Yeah.
Like there's a fine line in terms of like, you know, like the diorama ones. If you're like always fighting like the same armies. I know you've done that with like some of your Legion stuff where you've got basically like the armies that we're going to be playing stuck underneath, you know, the boots of your Titans and stuff like that.
That was a really nice touch. Is it? I think it's on your flyers, your little the little raptors. They've got like little dead like blood angels.
On almost all of the flyer bases and almost all of the training bases, there are cults glowing. Awesome.
I really like that. That was a really nice touch.
Yeah, let's have a nice world where we know we're going to be playing against similar forces and things like that. I think there is like just a little bit kind of like dissonance between why is that there in some files. Stuff. Yeah, but the building side of it, I think from a just general hobbyist perspective, there is no less validity in I'd have bought a box, these instructions, this is how I'm building it, compared to I want to do full kind of customization of. And that's just based on kind of what people enjoy from it. So it's all still valid at the end of the day. I know that I wanted to go into Death Watch with very much I want to make every single person individual. And then I went, oh God, I've got to try and make every single person individual to make this fit, like thematically as an army.
Yeah.
So I'd spend my time going like, why, how do I make this one model come across with like the entire history of the chapter that came before it? I mean, you like in a model that's like yay big, you go, can't do that. So sounds like a talk. Come on. Sorry, it's not saying. Sorry, that's not I can't do that in a sense that everybody can't do that. That's a sense of I can't do that because I know that I can't do that. Or more importantly, I don't want to do.
Yeah,
and that's really the key. Is that what we want to do, and what we
Whereas it would be quite simple to do that with like the Stonys.
Yes.
Because it's a much smaller army size.
Yes.
Like, okay, well, we can customize everyone a little bit different.
Like Custodes is like the hobby extreme of I want to make a character on every single model.
Yeah.
And especially with the detachment of like, was it the Auric? Like the one that is like it's all about taking loads of heroes. If it was a better detachment, it would be a really fun idea. It's just be like, I've made an army out of characters. Go forth.
And that is why that was the most successful that I had with like a customized sculpted army was Custodians, because like, there's not that many models.
I think just from a like a little bit of like a building perspective, I like the idea of kind of taking building and just being like, I want to build something that is like kind of like almost like a bit of a narrative, or like it has some kind of thematic element to it. That does then clash with other aspects of the hobby, in as much as like the game side of it. And I know we'll come on to the game side of it, but for example, in this edition, organization works at best, but in this edition, you look at a squad, and if it's Marines, you can go, yeah, it's like better to go with a power fist over a power sword. Just numbers wise, like the numbers work out better on average for it. And you go, but I don't want to have every single person with like a power fist or something like that. Like you want to add a bit of variety to it. And that's another bit that's kind of like, I'm getting over my own head of removing the bit that's like, this is the best for the members, this is what I want to make. Because I think power fists are fun, power fists are cool, but I want girls with swords. Like, is it too much to ask to have a few guys with swords?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll probably sort of circle back around to how these different aspects sort of interlink with one another. So what we'll do is we'll move on and quickly have a chat about the painting side of the game. Your favorite? My favorite side of the hobby, or my least favorite side of the hobby. So painting, obviously, it's annoying because it is actually probably quite an essential part of the hobby. Because I think even as a casual player or a casual builder, you're always going to want to paint your model again.
Oh.
Yeah. So I like it when it's done. But
yeah. And sadly, I think, I say sadly for me, and I think for some of you guys as well, it is quite essential to make the hobby as good as it can be.
Yeah.
That's not to say that you have to necessarily paint to the best possible standard, though. But I think there is a line where you have to say, do you want to be willing to paint the models?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing. It's not quite the same rocking up to a table. You've got all your lovely trains set up, and your opponent puts down this painted army, whether it's a pants painted army or an expertly painted army. If you rock up and place down a little bunch of grey plastic, it lacks something.
Yeah.
I think that's not to say you can't do that, because there have been games where we've done that, where we've painted it's fantastic.
My entire 40k army is grey, plastic, and headless.
And that's not an issue most of the time, particularly when you're learning an army and you want to decide whether you want to push on with it or keep going with it. Once you sort of settle on something where you've got an idea what you want to do, it does become an essential part of the hobby, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is actually, I would say, like one of the kind of like the core three things that you have to do. You've got to build, you've got to paint. But there are ways that you can approach painting to make it, I think, probably more palatable.
Yeah, depending on your style and what you want to achieve and what you have access to.
I mean, I feel like, just as like a base level thing. And it's like it's what they used to do for I don't know whether it's still all. I've not looked into it, but I know from champions who've done like downside King Workshop events in the past. It was like the 3 paint thing. You have to have at least 3 paints on there for it to be tabletop already.
I believe that already standard is so.
Yeah. And like I was just again kind of musing on like the paints that I've done. You can get away with 3 paint pretty quickly, but it's never going to be up to like a kind of high level standard. When you just think about trying to get 3 paints on something.
Yeah, I think.
All right then, James.
Do it with 1 paint.
we 5 on the turn.
I mean,
okay.
We do famously call you 3 paint Jack.
Yeah.
Despite it being 5 paints on the turn.
Well, let's be fair. It's 3 paints with 2 very small extras.
Oh.
But yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I think certain armies lend themselves better to like low paint scheme points, because I think you can make Tyranids look very good with
minimal
paint.
I've seen some great stuff on YouTube where people have done interior armors in literally a base coat and a high brush.
Yeah.
It looks phenomenal.
What's they do with like Necrons? It's a black undercoat and a silver dry brush and some green, and you could be done. If you want to do it quickly, which I find funny that, like, there's various other reasons why that, but like, Space Marines don't really lend themselves to a fast paint job in the same kind of way.
No, because of all the pouches.
Well,
like,
what? There is. I've discovered more recently that there are ways of doing Pokemon very quickly. This does lean into a bit of the hobby side, the building side, and as well as where I was mentioning about what we have access to. What? So, yes, they do have lots of pouches and all these bits and pieces, which you can put on the models if you don't want to. Yeah. Especially if you know you don't want to take them. And I will happily admit that on many of my Space Marines, they are missing pouches. I don't want to paint them.
They're not missing pouches, they're just travelling along.
But I also discovered that if you're a little bit clever with dry brushing and contrast paint, dry brushing, airbrushes, contrast paints, you can paint up the Space Marine very fast.
That does from if imagine this as like our new person who picked up their box. If you're going to go right, get yourself an airbrush as well.
Oh, I was merely making the point that it
can be done. Yeah,
it can be done, but from a new
person's perspective, I'm not expecting anyone to go out and buy an airbrush.
The well lines, I don't think honestly contrast paints are a good new experience.
I disagree.
I think they are, but I don't think they're sort of marketed in a way that's very constructive to you getting success out of them.
Just from like own experiences with anything with big flat panels, you end up marking on.
Well, I mean, that's if we're talking about flat panels and stuff. Yes, but generally speaking, those first boxes probably aren't going to be big chunky models.
Collecting. If your first experience, which is you go and buy yourself your pack of your first stack of models, there's something they're going to be pushing. That's going to be Marines, and they're going to have big flat panels.
I mean, I've learned with Panthers. Well, two pots.
Yes, the personal experiences of different kinds of paint.
Right.
But I know from personal experience on those that trying those ends up with big flat panels. Although it could just be purely just down to this is like the kind of the teaching that is happening with those contrast paints.
So there's also like some contrast paints cover real nicely.
Yeah.
Like Flesh Terror's red. If you want a red, brilliant paint for a red. A lot of the reds are really good, but then there's like some of the blues and some of the other colors that are just a tint. And like are nearly fully transparent. I think if you're looking at like new player, okay, so this is the box. This is the recommended new player box. Got a bunch of Space Marines. Recommended that people who are beginning with paints get some contrast paints. Okay, I want some like light blue Space Marines. I'll pick up some achromatic blue, which is great for doing psychic effects and tinting with psychic. But if you paint a full Space Marine, you're going to get a white Space Marine with a slight hint of blue.
I do find it interesting that we don't push the contrast paints and well, because they don't. If you buy the starter box, it will not put on contrast paints. Do not. Yeah, it's a 3-pack. I only know this because I know someone who bought the box. So it is a 3-pack of Eternus Marines with a base paint of blue. So it's like what's Crag blue is the base one. It's like Crag blue, retributed gold. I think some kind of red and like a wash. So along that kind of lines. There's no contrast in it. Because I think they recognise that it's not as big and friendly as people want to put in as like a one-stop. You can just go and And also there's an element of how do you like introduce somebody to that? Yeah, they've got to know that they can get like spray that marine, the primer that's going to be a lighter color. They can wash over, and you've got to get the right kind of primer and things like that. Whereas actually they are peddling it as a build your model and then paint it with that metallic blue, more with no primer.
I know that's probably a bit suspect anyway.
I observed that set, and I was like, definitely need a primer on there.
Yeah.
Well, like Meteor Gold's not a particularly good belt as either, is it?
Oh no, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking of a relic. Orange
Is it-
Gold is not great.
It's ultra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so it's Marines and blue paint. And therefore it's Ultramarines. It's like, we've sold you Marines and we've sold you blue paint. What are you going to make it? It's Ultramarines. Or you could.
The vanilla boys.
I love the idea that they sell that and you just end up with like somebody who gets into collecting celestial lions? Gold and blue? All of us, the blue and gold. Lions.
This is so embarrassing. I have not heard of them.
I mean, the Inquisition is doing its job.
What?
I mean, the Inquisition is doing its job.
But they're on the big ones that hero.
No, that's the actual cause. The Celestial Lions were the ones that spoke out against the Inquisition and then were subsequently, all their commanders were taken out by orc snipers.
I thought that. Oh my, that wasn't English. I apologize. Astral Claws. I've heard of that.
Yes, because they then became the Red Corsairs.
Yeah. I like the first name better.
Or the Celestial Lions.
No, the Astral
Claws. Oh, yeah.
I've heard that.
They had a colour scheme that was very similar to the Celestial Lions, if memory serves.
Yeah, that's why I get confused.
Yeah, they're almost the same colour scheme. Turns out you have enough lore, you start to get duplicates in colour scheme.
Well, let's be fair. I mean, there's only so many colours in the backpack.
And there's only so many colours which work together. And actually, that's another thing as well with kind of, the painting specs and going into this, there's only so many colours. I think, the nice thing with painting is like the customization you can, the lights that you can bring to a model as well. If you go, actually, I just want to build them straight, just as they are, well, the difference in painting can completely change how a model looks. Like, even if you take, two straight models, you paint them differently, they're going to have experience also.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I've shown you guys any pictures yet, but I've quite often referenced my mate as who's got an Ultramarines army. He prides himself pretty much on building things straight out of the blog as is. He doesn't customize them at all. I convince him to do a little bit every now and then.
True Ultramarines.
Like vanilla in the build. His painting is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he's been messaging me a lot recently about, I've just done my third highlight of these Terminators, and I'm thinking, you've put more than one on? I don't even do one.
Even though you could do more than one.
I've seen some things.
And, it is just bog standard Ultramarines, but they are beautifully well done. And it kind of goes to show that you might not be into the building side of things, but with the right paint job, they become amazing.
Here's a second number also.
Predominantly, yeah. Although he has talked about doing other bits of pieces.
I think that as far as painting is concerned, that it will probably, like, personally, I get put off painting by the time consuming that it, do you know what I mean? And it's, I think, especially for me, like, because when I'm sat and I'm doing, like, something for so long, like, my brain starts rattling around, and I've got Tourette's, so, like, my brain can't focus so hard on one thing constantly. So I have to constantly take breaks. But then as soon as you take a break, it's like, you sit back down and you're like, oh, I've got to, like, put all my concentration into this. And because you want to do such a good job on it, it's like you almost kind of like, you put so much pressure on yourself to give the best possible result as you can, that I feel like it's like for me, like it's sort of like, oh, but if I don't do it, then I won't do like a crappy job. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think, but I tried a bit here and there, in the past, but I think that I just need to put my big girl pants on and just like get over it and sit down and actually do it properly, especially now that like we're doing legions, which it takes off a bit of that pressure because it's on a smaller scale. And because like you don't have to chuck loads of detail on there because it's simplified, but it's also like you can still, I mean, your Marines are fabulous and they're able. So it's almost like it can be done, but you you don't have to like just cram it all on there because it's pretty self-explanatory. I think that's my perspective on it.
You raise an interesting point with the like wanting to like you're saying I don't want to sit down and like pour all my attention to this one thing. That is the bit of the painting that I love doing.
Yeah.
The downside is I love pouring all my attention into one thing. I'm going to do this one thing, and I go, oh, it's a unit of 10, and I think
never mind.
One. Yeah, and that's the thing where the almost like the little roadblocks that I hit is just like, I can pour everything into this one. And I go, not going to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you paint. I mean, again, I was having this conversation with Baz as well because he paints model by model. He doesn't back things. He just does each model, and he says that's how he keeps interest because he can get bored if he was doing blocks of models. And one thing I thought about, I might try and get over that hurdle of painting because I've always painted in blocks because I want to get it done. Well, I don't enjoy it. I want to get it done. And I know when I did last time I did Space Marines, which was quite a while ago. Instead of doing a big unit of 10, I just did 5.
Yeah,
and it was better. Well, but I still didn't enjoy it. So I am interested to see whether I could try just say painting a Marine in an evening.
Yeah,
and 10 that I've done a whole unit, which probably works out roughly how long it takes me to do an entire unit anyway.
Yeah, no, I think there's certain benefits in doing like batch techniques of like when you like, for example, if you buy a watch on something, you can do a watch on one, put that one off to the side, get another one whilst that's drying, kind of to go through there. But I think the approach that I'm kind of starting to take with it is doing actually, I do a wash, and whilst that's drying, I can go and do something else. Recently, that has been, I will go and be playing some Space Marine. And then the wash dries by the time I finish an operation, and then I carry on and I do the next little bit. Or something of that kind of ilk, which is like having something to kind of like go back and forth to kind of like break up that process to it. But I'm it almost suggests that I probably should be going down like the route of custodies of just like, oh yeah, because I can just pour all my time into one model and really focus on this one model. I'm not going on camera, I'm not going to custodies.
Can we get that in writing?
What? In a legally binding contract? No, for the very obvious reason that I can't trust myself. Yeah, that's some fancy. Anyway, that's the kind of like the little kind of rotation that I like to have of just going like pouring time into like one thing and then kind of maybe moving on to the next one once that stuff. Yeah, boring from it. So I think also very much like on a painting thing, it helps to have the right tools for the job. Or outside of like an airbrush, I mainly use the airbrush just for the purposes of kind of like getting around base colors and stuff like that. I'm not at the fine details of an airbrush yet. But even if you don't have an airbrush, like having current paint brushes, I think is an essential one.
That has it. Like good.
Not necessarily expensive, just ones that are reliable. That's definitely the element I go for.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, because there are some good ones out there, and there are some crap ones. Like I bought a lot of ones that are sort of around the sort of 15 to 20 quid mark.
Per brush or per set?
Per set.
Okay, that's. I was like, I've seen some that are like 15, 20 quid per brush. And
Yeah, God.
oh,
I know, you said usually on brushes.
Games Workshop brushes are about £10 to £15 a brush.
Yeah, but like,
what did you get?
in that sort of price range per set, I've seen like some ones that I can't remember. What's the brand of paint that is in
Army Painter? No. But in that particular shop, there is just.
there's
GW.
the ones that they.
Oh, Humbrol?
Yes, their brushes.
Yeah. I've never
It's a
used any of their brushes, but I've looked at the brush and been like, I know these are going to be bad. There's just something in there being like,
The vibes are off.
the vibes are off. I just at brushes being like, I know you sell bad brushes. I don't know why I know you sell bad brushes.
see.
Yeah, they are dire quality brushes, but for the exact same price range, the recent set that I bought off Amazon, really good.
I will say, funny enough saying price range, I have bought some brushes from the range, and they've been some really good brushes, like some really reliably like fine point brushes. And then like spent money on like more expensive brushes. Like I gave the GW S2E4 brushes ago. They're like synthetic fiber ones rather than the hammers. And they were okay. In downside is they stained like immediately. I mean, they're white brushes, so it's not understandable and painted with black, but just like they looked rough immediately afterwards.
I mean, when it comes to brushes, I think there are going to be good and are going to be bad. Do I think you need the really expensive brushes? I would say no. I think mid-range sets of brushes like 15, 20 quid are going to be more than enough if you maintain them.
Yes.
And that's the key. Maintaining the brushes, cleaning them out after your sessions with proper cleaners. I mean, I quite often use ISO to clean my brushes.
Yeah,
Which just that literally breaks the paint down in the brush.
I need to get that thing that you got.
My vortex.
Yeah.
Good little tip. A makeup brush cleaner. Fill it with a bit of ISO and spin it up and it clean the brushes for you. It's really easy. And all you do is you store the rest of your ISO in a jar and you just keep the brushes hanging in there to dry off. Absolutely brilliant. I do normally get rolled into out of water as well.
yeah, but it's like that. I've had some brushes that I haven't looked after properly and they've gone pretty bad pretty quick. But like, fully accept that with the Humbrol ones, it's like I took them out of the packaging and they were like frayed bristles and things. Like put them, like use them to paint once. So it's like they bent and just stayed in place.
Yeah. So it's buy bad brushes. Don't necessarily run out and buy really expensive ones.
Yeah.
Unless it's something you really want to do and it's a big part of your hobby and you're going to look after them. If you're going to do that, then do it.
But I mean, I've been tempted a few times to pick up the Hindered Artist Opal. But like their dry brush ones, I've been very tempted to get. But I've also had great success with just a makeup brush.
That's what we use.
Makeup brushes.
I have done. I have got a set of cloud brushes that I do quite like. They're cheap. This obviously comes with bottle comes you.
That's conversation, but that's conversation outside of this. Just pick them up. But
Yeah. So anyway, that's more or less painting. Painting is a big part, and I think arguably quite an essential part.
yeah,
But it doesn't matter what level of painting you are.
and I will say, I have become a complete convert to them. Transfers can elevate a paint job just immediately.
They can be very good. They can be a little bit tricky to work with.
They can be a little bit tricky to work with. You get the right materials for them. Stunning.
Yeah.
To bring it back to batch paint as well, briefly, is I batch painted some of my Tyranids, which worked very well. But one of the things that I do when I don't batch paint is I forget this because I'm confidently wrong. Well, I don't forget that if I batch paint because I'm like, oh, I've done this color, these are all the things. There's nothing worse than getting through like a squad of 10 and then looking and being like, oh, that bit I haven't paid about it, and now I've got more work.
Like this that stuff. Yeah,
I've done that many times.
yeah. I think it can happen in both like setting. Like if you're doing batch painting, you can miss an entire step, and then that's the entire squad missing that step. You're doing it individually. You can miss a step and be like, well, that's at least only one that's missed that step, and you can sometimes be recoverable.
I just still annoys me because I'll miss it on one model of a match.
That is
That's really annoying. Yeah, I was 3 steps ahead. I'm like, wait, what? I did that 20 minutes ago.
I think there's a certain element of like, depending on the colour scheme you're doing as well, it's like accepting, like some of the things that kind of like help me with getting faster at the painting going. For my appreciation, I'm going to be seeing this from stood up a couple of feet away from the bottle. How does it look? Do I actually need to worry about going inside and painting the entirety of the inside of a cloak of a model I'm going to look at from above? And I go with, no. So why am I doing it then?
That is very much the approach I have adopted in the last couple of years. And that's one of the reasons why I almost exclusively prime black and get Zenith or dry brush white to a white to get other colors on, because anything that is black stays black. No problem. And a little trick that I use quite frequently wherever I can is, because one thing I hate is if I make a mistake, I really can't bother to go and fix it.
Yeah.
So I just turn mistakes into battle damage. I'll cover it with Blood of the Blood God. If I make a mistake, I'm like, cool, I'm going to cover you in blood all the way. I'll put a dot on there and then flick the rest on like I would normally.
Yeah.
Well, not just to cover up any mistakes, because why bother going to fix it when I could just cover it?
Yeah. And actually, just another thing, like, I guess, tips as it was around painting is, again, the thing that's kind of like helped me when I think about the model is I go, there's really 2 angles that you care about looking at the model from, which is from directly above and from the front.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, there's details on the back. When I pick up a model, I'm not going to go, I might turn it around and go, oh yeah, that's back a bit. But the interesting thing is on the front. When it's on the tabletop, you're looking at it from like the top down. So like with the Legions, like Terminators, the back I didn't really care. Like I was like, yeah, it's done. But like because they're so small and they can be looked at from the top, that's why I want to make sure they got the detail. Is that looking down on something, you want to make sure they got the detail from the top.
Sure, ironically, I'm a little bit on the opposite end now, because I get what you're saying. You're either looking at it from the top or from above. But when I'm playing it, I'm looking from my models from behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I very specifically, like on Space Marines, I actually paint the power packs differently so that I've got something a bit more interesting to look at.
I like to view it as like, I'm giving my opponent the truth. They get to step out of the model. And then when I take it home, I'm like, yes, these are my good boys. This is what they did.
But I get the point. But I literally, as the opposite point was, so I see them from behind, so I actually paint the back slightly differently. So it actually made more work for myself, ironically.
Yeah.
I could add a third point of the back of my models will always be better painted because they are less obscured by like arms.
Yeah. See, you know how you works that problem. If you had magnetized arms, then you could just take the arms off to paint it.
I'm never converting. But no, like the Tyranids is like, oh, okay, the like silver bits of the back carapace is like, oh, I paint that beautifully. But then like when it comes down to the chest bits, I'm like, there's too many finicky arm bits.
Yeah, but again, that kind of works with like a very like hunched over thing. Yeah, it's in shadow. Like, you don't need to worry about it in the same way.
There are lots of ways you can cheat.
Yeah.
I will call it cheating. It's not really cheating, it's just doing what you want to do.
For shit.
Put it in that. Right. So if you want to put it in. Yeah, some people will call you cheat, and that's fine.
And like, and just in general, just like be horrible.
If you don't want to do something, don't do it.
I know. I was just thinking on the like pouches thing. If you like prime and black, and you dry brush Zenithal, you could always just not dry brush the pouches. Just keep it black.
Yeah, I mean,
Hard to do.
from a perspective of, I'm doing black armor. I like the pouches, and like the other bits is just like this is a thing just to kind of break up that armor.
Yeah.
I get away with most of like the kind of like the black is just done, with some kind of with some dry brushing elements and stuff. I've got a little like layer system they go through. But I like other colors to kind of break stuff up. It's why I'm the biggest advocate for anything that has a dark color scheme. Red bolters and red guns just to like makes it pop. You know, any color scheme I'm going to be doing, I'm going to make sure that they have like red bolters because I just think I'm just like elevates it a little more than the regular kind of black. It's just like two can't choose the bolter color. I want them in red. I want them in red. Is it so much to ask? You never know. Might happen. Well, Dark Angels is getting the expansion, so it might happen. I'll have some red bolters and I'll just have to pretend the sword bits aren't there.
Anyway, so that's painting. Yeah, I think we've covered that quite well. So let's move on to our third key element. And I think this is where we will start to sort of discuss how these things bridge together as well. Because they all lead into each other or back and forth. So the gaming aspect, the hobby that I would probably say is the most prevalent part of the hobby. In the sense that it's what we almost all of us are aiming towards. Whether it's the thing we do the most of is probably very unlikely because although a game can take, 4 to 6 hours sometimes, the reality is we will spend 4, 5, 6, 7 times that amount of time doing everything else with it. Some of us will spend that just painting, let alone the rest of it. But it is almost the end goal for our miniatures. There are also going to be some of you guys who will paint stuff or build stuff specifically to put on a shelf. And they will live there. And that's great. That's perfectly fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the majority of us, I would be quite confident in saying, is the goal is to get onto the table.
Yeah.
And play a game.
Yeah. I mean, a friend of mine, their partner really kind of got into the hobby, but their entire thing is building paint for them. They have zero interest. And actually, it's quite refreshing to kind of get their thoughts on it because it's like, yeah, I bought this box marine, I painted the box marine, and I went and bought some armatures, and I've got some armatures, and I went and bought these Age of Sigmar models, and I'm going to paint these Age of Sigmar models. And it's like, there's no intention for how can I cohesively chuck all these on the table. It's what's fun, and I can paint. Which is like a really kind of, a fun way to approach it. But it does then, almost kind of go, you're getting 2 out of the 3 experiences. And yeah, there's definitely an element that you should be kind of pulling into it of going, I want to get, stuff on the table and see how it goes and play around with it.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the gaming side, there are probably 2 camps, shall we say. There are what we will commonly call competitive and casual.
Yep.
Or, for K terms, combative and crusade, which pop. But it's a bit of
I'd go like competitive, casual / crusade. Like you don't have to play it crusade.
You don't, but it's kind of the nomenclature that Games Workshop tend to use rather than just casual. But yes, so you've got narrative, casual gaming. Well, again, I could almost argue that they're separate in half. You've got casual gaming, which is just to play a game, have fun, and see what works.
Yep.
The narrative gaming, which is very much we're telling a story, and then you've got the competitive gaming, which is we're playing the win.
Yeah.
Which might be casual in its own way. It doesn't have to be super serious. It does have the reputation of being super serious.
Yes.
But I would like to suggest that there are 3 avenues, actually. Initially I was thinking 2, but actually no, now I'm thinking about I think there's 3.
Yeah, I think that's first. So.
Now, of these 3, we can easily link back to some of our other points. Because as I was saying previously, I think painting is quite core to enjoying the gaming side of things to a degree.
Yep.
And I think 2 of those 3 categories very clearly benefit from having painted models.
Yeah.
Tournament or competitive, because most tournament or competitive gaming will almost insist on having painted models.
Yes. Or at least to a that level.
Yeah. And I'd also say narrative, because it's very immersion breaking having grey plastic on the table. Whereas with casual, I think there's nothing really wrong with it. I would still argue it's better to have painted models, but it's not a necessity, especially if you're learning and trying things out.
Yeah.
Anyone further with all?
I think it's out. There's a point I found getting in terms of what will your take away from the game. I think in terms of the casual game, you don't. Yeah, it's depending on what level of casual you go to. You don't even necessarily need models, but actual models to be able to play it. Like, not 40k for a brief second here, but they Catalyst games will pick up the right stuff in their game. Obviously, that we've got models in front of us. How to go with it. Now they do they start a book, which are what I should have something like this start a PDF, and on that for their super kind of casual games, it's all paper cutouts. Like literally to kind of get somebody to kind of go, now you're not going to take your paper cutouts to your tournament. I mean, you could. I suppose that would be an entertaining to see how a collection of paper cutouts would go down at a tournament. But they kind of take this approach of we want to make it accessible and make it casual for everybody. That's our kind of thing. And well, you don't need to worry about the other steps on it to kind of do those type of games. And it's also kind of like the level which you go to in previous steps determines maybe where you're going to be going down the line. Like you're more likely to go to that now stuff. If you spend a load of time doing these customized bits, I've put everything into every single model to make them have that kind of narrative and that story. Whereas competitive level, you're more likely to be I've got stuff ready to kind of go before. But there is, I have a little bit, if you want to talk about it, in terms of people different approaches to playing the game, or from final before any more to start raise on looking to set leading into the meeting game.
Well, I mean, I know for a fact that I would never, ever enjoy competitive gaming or tournament because I don't see, and this might just be me, but I don't see the point in spending all of that time, money, dedication into going into something just to beat the opposition. I get that that's what war is, but you know what I mean? I got into 40k because it seemed fun and it was something really new, especially to me. Oh my god, I never would have thought that wargaming, literally the nerdiest thing ever, would be something that I would be integrated in. It was completely new territory for me. And I love 40k, but
it's still kind of 40k.
It is. Yeah. It's just small. It's itty bitty, and it's so much more engaging for me, who literally has the attention span of a brain dead goldfish. But I like the game to be fun as possible, as casual as you can make it, without any kind of we can get a little bit kind of spicy with it. We can go, I'm gonna win because I've got this and you did this earlier, which screwed you over. So but I just, and also consuming media, competitive gaming media, it just puts me off. I get it, because if you're doing it, as a job opportunity, or you're particularly into it, I get it. You do you, but I would never choose it for myself. And also because I know what I'm just get competitive. So it just wouldn't be a good mix. But I think it's supposed to be fun. It's a game that needs which war, but it's a game at the end of the day. And we're really good friends, and we play games together. because it's fun. Like, we started this whole channel because it was fun. And I think that that's what it should be about. It should be about bringing people like together. It's great. But do you know what I mean? It's supposed to
about making fun.
The real Warhammer was world away.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's all been rattling around in my brain for like 15 minutes. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't do anything competitive either. Mostly because I'm just not good enough. Like, and I don't want to be. Like, if I wanted to be, I would sink time into like thinking of like strategy and rules and things, and it's just not the game I want to play. Like, I just want to put my models on the table, have a fun hour to 3 hours, and like, then among friends. And, like, wouldn't want to do that. Like, taking it seriously till stage.
It's really not that good.
Although, Joe, I'm going to have to correct you ever so slightly there. What game are you playing that's only taking an hour? Because I don't know any of our games that have ever been under, like, a day.
Like, I think there is a game, I think I played a game with you that you pretty much...
I think there was one where I literally tabled you in like the first turn.
Oh, I think I might remember that.
Because I think we had to restart.
Yeah, I think it was one of the games, the old.
Yeah, because I think I just said, do you want to reset? Because this is going to be over like in 10 minutes.
See, I know I've had a game against Jamie that hasn't felt like it's taken an eternity. Because, and it's not from the perspective of like the games take a long time. The thing that takes the most amount of time playing against Jamie is you make a move and he does a what do I got? What am I made one thing and suddenly I'm doubting everything that's come before it.
Yeah, imagine he does that to you and then you can't go away after the game. You're still in the same vicinity as him. I'm just like, thank you so much.
I remember the first game we did a 10. You came round, you brought Votan's round, and I'm like, okay, this is fun, we'll have a nice play the game. And you're like, I've discovered this. Like, go off, like, go on, like, go off, like, go on. Here. Pat, how am I meant to do anything with this?
But I do also remember on the flip side of that, there is a game, I think it was with the Custodians, where I rolled a lot of sixes, like too many sixes. I literally spent the entire like packing up in silence.
You see, the playing part, I can guarantee you cannot roll a dice to save your life.
He can't.
It's like counterplay against that. Like you have learned to be like, I know I'm never going to roll the dice that's going to go well. So let me play around that rule, and I'm like, I don't have to deal with this because this is a game that's meant to be based on the dice. And you're like, I'm not even playing with the dice.
Yes, I've had to learn to play clever because I can't roll dice.
Like it's statistically unlikely that you would roll this low every single time, but you are, and you're still winning the game. What?
I see.
I mean, yes, you could be competitive
if I roll better.
Yeah. You literally the thing that is holding you back is your ability to not roll good dice. Like you just like you were like, I'm going to put all of my points into wisdom and intelligence, and I'm just going to drop luck as a dump stat. Like I don't need that as a statistic. Like, oh no, whenever I roll the dice, they're terrible.
Yeah.
It's all part of the plan, isn't it? It's true athlete's way to know. I meant to do that. That was intentional.
I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but so obviously, like I don't know if I've played against either.
You haven't?
No.
I haven't. I've only ever played against him. So he's brutal, right?
You've been honed in the crucible, is what you've seen.
I've only ever played Jamie, who is a very brutal player, who, he throws his, because he only plays Alpha Legion and Necrons, I've been thrown the crap at me, right? I have had the crap, all the crap has been thrown at me. So I've started to pick up, like, sneaky tricks and stuff, and he's just like, Yeah. But I get that little, like, okay.
You see, I have yet to have learned anything. For I still apply the exact same tactic, which is, hey, Joe, are you going to do this right? I do believe I'm going to run everything at you. Very clear. Carry on. Am I going to play against that? Yes, I do. Are you going to do anything different? No, let's just keep going.
So one of the reasons why I now am starting to prefer Legions over 40k is because obviously, I think in a previous episode we talked about in 40k, you sit there and you, like, the other player does have the opportunity, whilst you're sat there, to just wipe your entire army off the table.
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing against him. Cut away. Especially when you're playing against him. Like, but in Legions, if he does a little sneaky snake, I then have the opportunity to go, wait, I know what you're doing, you sneaky little, and you go, okay, I'm in there, Jamie. I'm going to do this instead. But then he goes, you sure you want to do that? Okay, I just can't win.
You say in 40k that he has the chance to wipe half your board. But did you play him when he was playing Thousand Suns and he had 2 opportunities to wipe your board in one turn?
I don't think so. I think 40k I've only ever played against your Alpha Legion and your Blood Angels. I don't think I've played against them.
Yeah, but that's because they don't have the psychic phase anymore. No. I did make just talking about the psychic phase and the playing and like how long things take. I remember not the first game that I played, but the first time I played with a mate. And it was the first time I had played Grimdark. And he bought the first time he'd ever played his army. The Thousand Suns. Oh. And we set it up on the table, and they were like, oh, it's our first game. And the person who owned it would like looked at our thing, looked at us and went, you're going to need a second session. And we got to the end of the first like time we had booked, and we were like, we have got through turn 1 because it was psychic phase. Like the deny the witch rolls, and I was like, I deny the witch on this roll, and then I get right to my psychic phase and be like, I deny the witch on this roll, and I deny the witch on this roll, and that was it. It just took so long to get anywhere with anything.
Yeah, I really want to see the John that way.
Yes, but it's only when you like, you're like, oh, how is it taking this long to get through every single set?
I mean, probably not great for first timers, but once you know what you're doing, that's
2 psychic armies going at each other for the first time was an experience.
Yeah, I can imagine that was.
But so saying about like the different ways that we enjoy, it's something that I said I wanted to bring up, and it links to a different game that I also play, and I know you play it as well, which is Magic. And Magic Gathering, they Mouth Rosewater did like an article ages ago, talking about like the different, essentially psychographics that look at like player type, and essentially said that everybody kind of generally speaking falls within a spectrum of these 3 different player types. And so just kind of running through them, we have what is known as the Tinny or Tammy role. In Magic, it's the person who's interested in big spell, big creature, I want to make the big thing happen. It's very typified by, I play with lots of dinosaurs and that kind of stuff. Because it's big number and it's like the kind of the bombastic kind of element to it. I feel like I very much fall into that with 40k. I'm like, I want to make a large line of people and I want them to go to that side of the board as quickly as possible. Is there any plan behind it? No. Yes. It's a straight line.
And he still refuses to play World Wars.
Yeah, I know. I think it's because you tell me to. So it's like I'm trying to have the kind of the tinny tammy kind of aspect of it. Then there's what's known as the Johnny Jenny tendency. They're the ones that are like the combination. So I'm looking to go with like, oh, this links into this, which does like some really kind of interesting interactions. So it's all about like somebody who looks at a game for like the way, not necessarily like the most competitive type of it, but it's like I want to see how this part fits with this part to then create some fun, interesting combos and interactions.
That sounds good. Yeah.
And then the last one is known as the spike category, and that is the competitive, looking to win, building the best options, and kind of like not necessarily like power gaming it, but to a certain degree power gaming it of this time. What is the most competitive? Like this is imagine be like these are the best cards, these are the decks I can probably build. These are the cards at the best at the moment, and in 4K be like these are ones the best army. And I think in terms of kind of like our games, like we're very much not in the spike kind of element, but we all the kind of the argument in terms of the player aspect is that everybody fits within those three. Yeah. And it's like it's not to say that you only fit into one of those three categories, you fit within those categories to kind of different degrees. I just think they're just like an interesting one to kind of like think about in terms of when you approach how you approach it. I think you're very much in the Johnny camp of these are interesting combos that lead to.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite accurate, and there probably is an element of spike in there, but I would call it spike as in spite because I want to achieve despite my crap rolling.
Yeah.
I think we both quite solidly fall into the wee ball.
Yeah. Yes. Like there's definitely some like like looking at some like interactions like rules. I've looked at some which are like that's a really interesting combo, which is like, and that kind of hits both like a Johnny kind of spike element of it was looking at the some of the Black Templars upgrades that you get on, and you can stick onto like a chaplain, and I was like, if I have a chaplain and then I give him this enhancement and I use this stratagem, it goes up to like a strength 8 AP -4 damage 3 Crozius. I'm like, that's a Crozius that starts to break down tanks at that stage. Like, we're coming in the walls at that moment. So, there's like some aspects, like even though I'm saying it fit within that, it's still like, if I combine those things, I can get something that is quite competitive and still works in my favor. But there's also two kind of other areas as well, which she talked about in terms of like the aesthetic choices that people make. So it's the Melvin or the Verfos people, and the Melvin ones are, I want to go into it, and it's more about the mechanics. So like you're very much in like the mechanics camp, or like I'm interested in these things of like what mechanically happens. The Verfos one is what's the flavor, like the lore, the flavor, that kind of aspect. Building stories around stuff and kind of going up from there. So again, they're not they're kind of separated ones from there. It's like the different kind of types, like how you approach a force when you're looking at it. Or like what interests you about the game as well. Is going like, am I more interested in the mechanics or am I interested in the lore kind of side of it? I was just like, it's an interesting way to kind of like think about how you approach role and kind of go from there. And like, I keep going, I think I'm one of these. Like, I think I'm going like, I'm going to go and be interested in the mechanics. And I sit and I look at the mechanics and my brain goes, no. It just shuts off. And I'm like, okay, I can't read the mechanics, but I'm like, but I can look at this lore and this pretty art, and that like works for me. And kind of taking a step back and kind of looking at like the game and what I'm enjoying from the game. This goes back into kind of that building aspect of I want to approach a game with like, this is a fun world, this is a fun kind of aesthetic that I can pick up from it. Power fists are the the objective right choice when it comes to building a Marine squad. But I'm going to give my guys swords because they're crusaders and swords are fun, but they're not the best. Yeah, and like that's the kind of the difference between when you look at them. It's like what's the best, what's mechanically the best versus what's like raw the best. Yeah, that's just it's just a fun like. I like it as a kind of like a profile to kind of look and talk about bits and so on before. Okay, in other games before, it's quite commonly used as like a little player analysis.
Thanks, that little lesson teacher.
Yeah, but I know the teacher mode game about you.
Oh, cool. Right. Well, good. I think that does sort of tie things up quite nicely in terms of the aspects of what party is. And I think there's a much larger discussion that we could go into about how all these things sort of can evolve or impact the way we do things. There's definitely, we could go into quite a long conversation about, how a certain way of building might influence whether we're going to be a certain type of king, whether a certain painting style will lean us one way or another. But we've kind of hinted at those already, and I don't think we need to necessarily go into all of that at this stage. Save it for another discussion. So I think that's probably a good point to sort of move into the round table and actually come to sort of a conclusion about what the hobby is and probably a style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So see you over in the next section. Welcome back. So, as you previously just heard, or hopefully been listening, we've been through the sort of various aspects of what the Warhammer hobby is and Wargaming in general. And I think it's probably a good point to sort of conclude with what actually makes us a hobbyist and whether we can be one of those things or a mixture of those things and still call ourselves a hobbyist. Do we have to be involved in all of it? And personally, for me, I think the obvious answer is you don't have to be engrossed in every single aspect of the hobby. You might be someone who gets involved in the lore, gets involved in games, gets involved in tabletop gaming, building and painting, and whatever else you may have forgotten to include in this video.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be. And that doesn't make you any less or more of a gamer or a hobbyist or part of the Warhammer community. We've already discussed that I'm not a painter. Well, I'm relatively good at painting. I enjoy it. So I wouldn't call myself a painter. But I'm still a Warhammer person. I'm a hobbyist. Yeah. You are fanatically terrible at staying at one thing. But you're always involved and you're always doing stuff and you're always reading, always building, painting, all sorts. Joe, you do a bit of everything from what I gather.
Yeah.
Apart from probably not so much the gaming side of things.
Yeah.
But that might be more to do with that. That's
Sports student time.
And ours mostly is lore, and it's only starting to get into the other aspects. I mean, you play quite a bit, actually.
I do actually.
Like,
we all do.
Because we play quite
We probably play once every couple weeks. So it's like we make a habit out of making sure that we play together.
You make a hobby out of
But I think that you make the hobby, like, you choose, like, the aspects of the hobby that you want to do. Like, it's whatever, like, reaches out to you. Like, I think that it doesn't really matter, like, how little you do or how much you do. At the end of the day, as long as you it's fun for you, it's some downtime, I think that you have every right to call yourself a hobbyist. Whether you're literally just like me, like the only reason that you really stick around with Warhammer is because it's content's quite. Like, I mean, I think that you kind of, you make it what you want it, baby. Like, you always gotta just find that one piece. Like, it could be like the smallest thing ever, and like that's yours, and just roll with it.
And it's, well,
if it's something that you will do for the purposes of, like, and I think actually in keeping with it is, it's a hobby, it should be relaxing. And
Yes.
if you go, I don't actually, I don't enjoy doing painting, then you find a way to kind of make that part of it the least intrusive part of your hobby, because if you're not enjoying it, it's not a hobby. It shouldn't be a job. If you're getting paid to do it, well, then that's a different matter. But if it's a hobby, it should be fun. You should be enjoying it. And that's, I think, what we all get from different aspects of it, but we all still enjoy whatever it is that we do. And whatever it is that you enjoy about it, that's what makes it the hobby. Yeah, it's fun to get it. Should be. Yeah, should be. Cool.
Any words for us, Jay?
I think it really is just like, yeah, it's what you have the Vegas in Boston. Like, as you both said, quite succinctly, it can be whatever you want, really.
And I mean, it's definitely a hobby that can be very expensive. So it can. And like, we will talk about price for a much longer period of time. But there are ways of doing it much more cheaply. And, if it was something that I'm really interested in doing, or off the back of it, someone might be interested in giving it a go, find a local game store. At least I know, there's various ones where they can be in contact with somebody who says, here's my army, maybe give it a go, We all, between us, as just, even on like a casual level of hobbyists, we have multiple armies. And generally speaking, the one thing you can guarantee people who've got really into Warhammer is they will have a lot of models. And that makes it a nice, easy in for people. It makes a nice, easy in for like lots of people who are potentially going to pick up the hobby and if they can find something to play with. However, the alternative, and this doesn't mean it's any less of like, you're not, doesn't make you any less of in the hobby with things like Tabletop Simulator. Yeah, I've seen plenty of people who run games just through that, and that's their means of kind of getting the hobby. They cut out the building and the painting side of it, and just want to play the game, but they can't play the game by going to people or retail people, so they just play it virtually, and they're still part of that same kind of hobby because that's the aspect they want to get into, and that would be something I would be telling people to do if I was planning what's they find the thing that works for you, and don't go and spend all your money buying things and then finding out that yes. None of us have done that. None of us have done that.
Nope.
Old council.
Oh no, it's fine. Well, just we could take a look at mine and mock me relentlessly for mine as well. I think.
John, maybe we should just do a podcast so we just shame ourselves and put our pile of shame on the table.
I'm not sure prepare for that, and I don't think anybody wants to see us behind the grey mountain that just says. No, we do it as a live stream, and we're not allowed to leave until you fill everything. It's just us as skeletons desiccated by then still in the pile.
Joe, what? I'll only ever do that if we ever have to do like a really long sponsored thing or something.
We're here for the next year.
So we'd be sat here for about 2 weeks.
You know what? Be great. I get so much done.
We'd get a lot done.
We could start at the first book of the Horus Heresy audio book, and we could end when it's at the end of the Siege of Tower.
For 10,000 likes, guys.
Oh, do better than that. 30 at least.
Right. Well, as a final sort of point or conclusion, I think there's two phases. One that we've kind of said already, and one that I think I stand by Warhammer, that I think kind of sums it up. Okay, now the first one, which I kind of putting together from what we said, which is it's your hobby, your way.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Doesn't matter what you're doing or how you're doing it. You hobby the way you want to do it, and don't let anyone else tell you you're wrong.
Yep.
And to go with that, one of my favourite phrases, which is quite common in the hobby, and you'll see it on a lot of videos, is rule of cool.
Yes.
It does not matter what anyone else says, what the box art says. Do what you want to do. Have fun. It's your money, it's your hobby, it's your time.
It's your life, and
Bye, snap.
And on that bombshell, I think it's probably time to say goodbye to both of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you very much for joining us and for listening to us ramble. I've been Jay, and I've been your host for today. And I've been joined by my lovely team, John, Jared,
an owl.
Please do remember to like, subscribe, and share on all the social medias, and go and follow us where you can. But until then, we will see you next time in the Mead Hall. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye!
Ta-da!